Have you ever had one of those people in your life, when you see them coming, you try to find a reason to take a different route? Like when they walk into the room, you get a knot in your stomach, or you see an email or a text message with their name and you get instant anxiety. Like these people are deceptive, they're controlling, maybe they're manipulative, and they're just generally unkind. The best name for the way to describe them is that they're just plain old mean people. Mean people are hard to deal with. I remember this guy I had to interact with on a regular basis about 10, 15 years ago. And every time we talked, he would talk so hatefully about other people. I never heard him talk well of anyone. He would call people stupid. He would never budge to make it easier for someone else when working with them. If it meant that he wasn't going to get what he wanted, you know, that kind of person. He's just mean. But I had to work with him regularly. How do you respond and react to mean people like that? Well, before we get into our responses, I just want to pause and say, welcome to Journey and Home. My name is Jarrod. You should totally hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel here, and every week you can get some practical help to keep taking steps to follow Jesus. That's why we're here. Everything we're creating here is to make sure your faith isn't just theoretical, but it's able to thrive in your everyday, in your mess, in the reality of what life throws at you. Which is why we're tackling this thing about mean people for the next couple weeks. Now, I do realize that we all have the potential to be mean ourselves at times. We've all had our moments, and we don't really want to be those people either. So for these conversations in the next couple weeks, we're going to explore who to respond and react to the people in lives who are consistently mean, how we're going to do that. Because I don't know about you, but nothing brings out the mean in me like the mean in somebody else. I wish I were joking, but what helps me is having a plan. By beginning to be proactive and being prepared, I can make my response to mean people a little bit better and avoid the control that mean people can sometimes gain over me and then turn me into a mean person myself. But don't mean people deserve some of their own medicine? I mean, don't they deserve for us to be mean back? And what choice do we have when we're dealing with mean people other than being mean back? Because it feels like we're just justified. Like our response to what they've done to us is totally normal. And to the people we care about, like those people being mean to them, gosh, who's going to blame us if we blow up and get mean with them? Nobody. But we do have a choice. And when we allow mean people to change us into reacting like mean people, then we let them have control over us because we're becoming someone we don't want to be. It's truly difficult to be good to people who aren't good people. It's really hard to be kind when someone is being unkind. But don't you want to be a kind person? I know I do. Maybe you're thinking of a specific mean person right now. Maybe your ex or your irresponsible sister who is always manipulating your family, or your boss or a neighbor. And isn't it fun to daydream about getting them back for what they've done? Or setting them up for a moment where you just give them all the meanness that they've ever given you. As much as I hate to interrupt that perfect little revenge scenario you got going on there, I've got to rain on your parade a little bit because getting even makes us even with someone we don't even like. I mean, isn't that exactly the opposite of what you want to be? Who wants to be even and on the same level with someone that they don't even like? When you get even, you become more like that person than you want to admit. So if getting even isn't the answer, what do you do? I mean, you can just ignore everything, stick your head in the sand and wait till it all builds up and you explode. Well, that will just give them even more power over you. Maybe there's a different option. And that's what we're going to talk about the next couple of weeks. You don't have to become mean, and you don't have to just ignore it and blow up. There's a third way, and it will help you write a better story with the situation you find yourself facing. Now, Jesus taught us this third way, and he modeled it throughout his life. But there's also this great story about a lady who had a relationship with King David, Israel's greatest king. Now, this story takes place before David came to power as a king. In fact, David is a fugitive on the run from the current king. Let me just catch you up on where we're going in the story. David killed Goliath as a young man, and he became a national hero. And the king at the time, King Saul, he got word that a prophet had anointed David to be the next king of Israel, that's kind of messed up, like all of Saul's plans. Like Saul had planned to create a dynasty, pass along the crown to his son Jonathan. So King Saul is trying to kill David, and David is on the run. David lives out in the wilderness, but he's also been attracting the loyalty of about 600 other fugitives who have been mistreated by Saul. So Here they are with David, and we find him out there and having experienced the meanness of King Saul, living with the consequences of all that out in the wilderness, having to decide how he's going to respond. So what kind of man does David want to be? What would your emotional state be out in the wilderness, driven from your home by a crazy person? And what would you do if you ran into another mean person who had the power to take you down? Now, David and his many fugitive followers were trying to be the right kind of people. In fact, they had camped out near an extremely wealthy man who had 1,000 goats and 3,000 sheep. I mean, this guy, wow. This guy named Nabal also had a beautiful, intelligent wife named Abigail. But the story in 1 Samuel 25 even describes Nabal as surly and mean in all his dealings. So when it's time for Nabal to shear his sheep and make his money for the season, David decided to go and make a deal. David sends some of his messengers with this message to him. When your shepherds were with us, we did not mistreat them, and the whole time they were here, nothing of yours was missing. Ask your own servants, and they will tell you. So David and his men, they didn't steal anything. In fact, David is trying to show Nabal how he and his men actually helped protect the thousands of sheep and thousands of goats. I mean, think about it. A guy who has 1,000 sheep is going to assume that some of those are going to get taken by wild animals or fall off a cliff or run off and get lost. Like there's a certain expected loss during the season. And David's saying, hey man, we made sure none of your stuff got lost or killed. And when your flocks were near us, we kept them all safe. So David's request is really simple. Therefore, be favorable toward my men, since we come at a festive time. Please give your servants and your son David whatever you can for them. In other words, how about you share some of that profit? Like you weren't actually planning on having all of those sheep come back, so because we kept some of them safe, why don't you share a little bit of that with us? And Nabal, being the kind of guy he is, doesn't reply right away. He just makes the messengers wait. And then Nabal, when he answers, finally, he gives this reply for them to send back to David. Who is this David? Who is this son of Jesse? Many servants are breaking away from their masters these days. Whoa, bro. You just straight up called David an outlaw and a nobody. Someone you don't even have to pay attention to at all. Even though this group of outlaws didn't treat your sheep like outlaws do. And when David hears about this, how do you think he's going to respond? Well, guys, I guess we gave it our best. Back to the wilderness. No, these guys really are kind of outcasts. I guess if you think that we're outlaws, then we're going to show you we're really outlaws. So David's actual words to his men are this. Each of you, strap on your sword. 1 Samuel 25 says David took 400 men with swords with him, and he's going to set some things straight with Nabal and his shepherds. And this might be a little bit of an overreaction for the situation, but hey, Nabal insulted David and then didn't even make a show of gratitude for what David and his men had done for them the last several months. I mean, isn't that what we do when we face mean people and think about our own responses? Our anger is often really outsized. Like we want to bring overwhelming force to set things right, and we want to put them in their place. And we know we're justified to do what we're about to do. And David does too. David uses these words to show how right he is. He says, it's been useless. All my watching over this fellow's property in the wilderness so that nothing of his was missing, he has paid me back evil for good. And then David says this, which is pretty bold. May God deal with David, be it ever so severely, if by morning I leave alive one male of all who belong to Nabal. So look at the situation. You've got Nabal, and his returning David's good to him with evil. And David, he's about to return Nabal's evil with evil. But there's no hero in this story. I mean, both of the guys in this story are choosing evil. But who could blame David? He's got to feed his men and their families through the coming winter. And he was hoping that this would be one of the ways that he was going to help provide for them. Or what if this whole army of outlaws decides they'd be better off just turning David into King Saul? I mean, there's a lot of stress in this situation. And what else can David do? I hate to do this, but we'll talk about the third option that David has next week. There's another way forward. But this week, I just want us to process 4 simple questions so we'll be ready to consider the third option next week. Here's question number 1. Do you really want to be even with someone you don't even like? Do you want your response to make you like the mean person that you don't even like? Because hurting them back doesn't end it or solve it. just makes you like them. Here's question number 2. Wouldn't you rather be ahead? I mean, this isn't intuitive, but you actually pull ahead when you choose not to get even, which leads to our third question. What story do you want to tell? Like someday, like this situation will be a story that you're telling to your kids or somebody else. And when it's a story you're telling, what do you want to say about how you responded? Yeah, I got mad and I got them back and I treated them like they treat other people. And man, it was awesome. And I let them get to me and I became someone I didn't want to be, right? And then here's our last question. What would it look like to return good for evil? Rather than acting in like kind, being kind. Not just to refuse to be bad, but in Jesus' words, to do good to those who mistreat you. Getting even is natural and it's predictable, but it's not the best option. Don't be predictable. Don't write a predictable story. Write a remarkable story, a story that has a surprise ending, and it's a story worth telling later. What if you write the story you want to have told about you? Remarkable begins with an honest answer to question number 4, and we'll talk about how to return good for evil next week.